A few thoughts about Riot Games' new FPS, Valorant, formerly known as Project A. Riot Games has launched a frontal assault on CSGO by copying the good parts of its design and sticking some modern conventions onto it and topping it off with some sprinkles of Overwatch and maybe a little Team Fortress too. But will it be good, or are they building a Condition Zero? I've been reading comments and headlines on upcoming video game projects that were supposed to kill CounterStrike for longer than some of my viewers have been alive. Crazy, isn't it? And for the first time, I think they have a legitimate point, at least to some extent. Riot's new game Valorant could actually chip away at CSGO's position as the biggest player in the competitive FPS scene. But why is that so? And why could it be happening now? And why didn't it happen before? Well, let me try to answer the last question up front. Most games I've seen that were called a Counter-Strike killer have actually been missing the point of Counter-Strike, and, well, the names Counter-Strike killer were usually given as tacky headlines by journalists. And even those games that set out to be a Counter-Strike killer either missed the point or were a really different genre. Insurgency has been called a Counter-Strike killer, and a bunch of other more tactical shooters that go down a far more realistic and more simulation-like route. But that's not today's topic. 5v5 competitive. An in-game economy and resource management for buying equipment each round. And attacking or defending bomb sites. Running with your knife out to be faster. That is Counter-Strike to its core. But that is also Valorant. While CSGO is utilizing the tried and trusted gun and gameplay essentially based on Half-Life, meaning no iron sights, just a simple crosshair for most guns, Valorant, on the other hand, introduces iron sights, or rather futuristic optics. That was actually the first thing I noticed about Valorant's gameplay. And the next thing to notice were actual character classes with special abilities like in Overwatch, but with smaller impact on gameplay. Valorant's character traits are more of a supportive nature and not the character's main line of attack. Guns are still the main focus of Valorant's gameplay, which sets it apart from the often compared to Overwatch. The maps are rather compact, like in CSGO, and they actually got some CSGO map creator veterans involved, so they can't fail, right?
Environments in Condition Zero were created by guys who have made the maps that you're so familiar with if you played Counter-Strike online.
Am I saying they will go down like Counter-Strike Condition Zero? No, I'm not. Unlike CSGO, Valorant's maps feature more verticality compared to most CSGO competitive maps. Why more verticality, you might ask? To accommodate some more flexible movement patterns in Valorant. They are certainly more varied than in CSGO. I've been seeing characters hovering high above ground. But I assume these are character-specific traits. Other traits include deploying a bubble of sorts, obscuring players' vision and blocking their path. Teleportation is also an ability, and then there are other abilities like raising a temporary wall that appears to be passable but might block bullets. Other abilities include things like setting up a sentry gun. Well, I told you they took some cues from Team Fortress 2. I bet I confused some people with this screenshot, eh? Yeah, that's actually TF2. Check out the little info box in the upper right corner of your screen, just in case you were wondering about this screenshot. But back to Valorant. I assume this mix of CSGO and a bit of Overwatch is appealing to a lot of, I guess, younger people and people who are not too fixated on the classic gameplay. And mostly those who like it a bit more colorful. Yes, CSGO has certainly been going down a more colorful path with the implementation of all the skins and whatnot, but Valorant banks on the comic look to the fullest extent. This being something which has become more and more popular over time. I think ever more simplistic styles are in fashion, and with that I not only mean the comic look of Overwatch and the biggest online game at the time, Fortnite, many other games employ this artistic direction too. But this means Valorant could be called bland and coming with a certain uniformity. If everything is bright and flashy, then nothing is. The more simplified look lends itself to a tactical shooter, because it is dependent on clear lines of sight and relatively clutter-free environments. Gone are dust clouds and all the other vision-obscuring things in CSGO. Valorant doesn't even start with that. Besides providing clear lines of sight, it is also conserving computing resources on the user's end, letting people play this game on practically any old system. If you can play it on a very old computer, that means everyone can take part in it. And the comic look ensures that even with rather crude graphic settings, it won't look horrendous. And on Riot's part, they do have a track record of supporting games long term. I mean, I am no MOBA guy, but I have not heard League of Legends players complaining about a lack of content. Which is good, because they plan on launching this game with only 4 maps. I wonder if there will be a map editor. Because community-created stuff is something that made CSGO and CounterStrike in general great. Riotgames promised us the game to come with 128-tick service, something that the CSGO community has been lusting after for years, as well as a hard and strong anti-cheat protection, something a lot of people still feel Valve is not doing enough for. All this combined, free-to-play, a tried and trusted foundation for the game, which is admittedly heavily inspired by, if not outright copied from CSGO, a selection of classes with somewhat characterized heroes, and an art style that is becoming ever more popular, is a great starting ground for a big success. And the guys at Riot know what they are doing. The League of Legends formula was no invention of theirs. They just copied a tried system and then adapted it to their needs with great success. If they manage to do the same with Valorant, we might have a real CS competitor on our hands. A bigger one than Rainbow Six Siege even, a game that in the beginning was also called a CounterStrike killer. But all this depends on them playing their cards right. If they are able to get some people to move over from other games and hold them there. Maybe Valorant flops hard. But how could it? Introducing new, strange and unfamiliar elements to the Counter-Strike formula was always a great success.
There's also new weapons like the Law Rocket, which this is an anti-tank weapon that's used as an anti-personnel device. It's really an interesting application for it. Some of the other weapons are great, like the M60 is very different from the existing the SAW, the Para, because...
Yes, am I saying it will flop like Condition Zero? No, it very well might be a big success. Or it just straddles on for a while and then fades into obscurity. What I am saying is, this has potential. And I also know this is what was said about many other games before. Many people set out to either clone Counter-Strike and make it a bit better, or just outright surpass the concept. Does anyone remember Tactical Intervention? The game actually made by one of the Counter-Strike inventors? He wanted to take Counter-Strike to the next level and do the game he always imagined Counter-Strike to be. But the concept failed. They introduced vehicles and much wider maps with car chases and all that kind of stuff. They wanted to do this in Counter-Strike originally. Some of the early beta maps do have vehicles. But they cut it out because this stuff did not work for Counter-Strike, and ultimately Counter-Strike developed into a different direction. But this is what they wanted to do, and many game developers have, well, I guess ideas that in theory would make the game better. But probably only for a small niche audience. That was the fault with many games that tried to surpass Counter-Strike in its popularity or improve upon it. And it's interesting to see where Valorant will go with this, because it's an interesting concept and, yes, I repeat myself now, it has potential. This time, all the good ingredients seem to be coming together. And even if Valorant is not the new best thing since sliced bread and it's all just a lot of marketing brouhaha, it still might force Valve to improve CSGO. 128-tick servers and such, you know? So tell me, what do you think about it? I'm interested in reading your opinions in the comment section down below. I actually read the comment section of my videos and I do engage in conversation. So tell me what you think, because I want to gauge the community reaction to this game. Is it possible that the CSGO community will be mad for Riot Games being a copycat? As always, our Patreons got to see this video first, so a special thanks to all of our supporters. To you and everyone else, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day, and as always, goodbye and guten Tag. And at last, to Riot's new competitive FPS.
We will watch your career with great interest.